It does feel like two evenly matched sides here. And like South Africa, if you have 95 into 97, if you have 07 into 09 and now 19 into 21, they have a nice habit of being world champions for these Lions tours, which adds something as well. I was having a look generally, I mean, bookies can't separate them. There's not even a point or two in the handicap. It's flat out, we're not sure who's going to win this. So how do you see this Lions squad pitched up against the world champions now?
I think there's a reason the bookies have it pretty flat. I think there's a lot of unknowns there. And Matt referenced it earlier on. We haven't seen South Africa play, and they've got 2 test matches against Georgia, I think. So we won't really know, because they haven't played together for so long, whether that form that they had in the World Cup will carry through. We certainly know that South Africa always have an abundance of quality. There's so much depth down there. So I'm pretty sure, and on home soil, they have a superb record as well, we should probably mention. So I'm sure they'll pitch up, certainly, but will there be a bit of rust there? On the flip side, on the Lions challenges, Shane was talking about, that tightness that Gatland has always been able to generate in that team Lions. That will be a challenge in the bubble. So they'll have to deal with that too. And I think there will be interruptions here and there. I think that's probably inevitable unless they're, the bubbles are really tight. They'll be coming into contact with people in the hotels, etc. There could be challenges all along the way here, and there's lots of unknowns. I would say, given the whole squad, the Lions always have a huge amount of quality as well. So they're evenly balanced in that respect. Lots of unknowns. But I think what we will get is a fairly tight three-match test series. And I think, I can't separate both sides at this stage. I can't wait to see just a little bit of rugby and get an idea from both sides, because undoubtedly it will be a great watch. South Africa is the best place in the world to tour, I think, generally accepted. So we're in for a tight one anyway, I think.
Matt, how do you see it? Do you have it leaning one way or the other?
It's a fascinating tour. I think the thing I would also throw in there, 2 of the tests are at altitude up in Joburg, and anyone that's ever played at altitude in South Africa would know that it's really changes the outcome. I know the Lions are doing a lot of preparation. They're actually training in masks that are reducing the oxygen, because that's what happens when you play at altitude. I think it's 15% less oxygen that I saw. Certainly the Africans not playing since 2019, since they won the World Cup, against other nations is a huge negative, but then there's a whole lot of other pluses to them being at home. And it's also, what's fascinating is what Gaddy's going to come up with as a game plan. Because while the boys are talking about the environment Gaddy puts together, what I really like about what Warren does with the Lions, he has a picture in his head, a plan to come out against an opposition, and he'll people it. It's not always with the people that we think he should, but he's been very successful at it. So again, just like Luke said, we're going to learn a lot more on this today and in the opening games going forward on how Gaddy's going to put together his tactics to take on South Africa. So it's not just going to be a general plan. It's going to be really specific to attack the box, and it'll be fascinating to watch.
Yeah. Shane, who do you make favourites to win the series?
We don't really have a great data set here, do we?
No.
The Lions come about once every 4 years, and then we've got a world champion Springbok team that haven't played in a couple of years. So that advantage that the Lions normally have, that the home team normally have, with having time together, playing consistently over a couple of years, that's the advantage they have against the Lions. The Lions are thrown together; they come together for a couple of weeks. If you look at the way this tour is panning out, actually the Lions may be more familiar with each other in the short term than the Springboks will. But they do have this historic advantage of being together and being a World Cup winning team, and they will know each other. But that is one of the, I suppose, advantages that's changed. The home crowd, does that exist? But funnily on Lions tours, the away crowd is almost a home crowd, and that's gone for the Lions. The ability, as we said, to be able to foster a teamship that Gatland really does and has always done. It's an important part of what he brings to any coaching setup. That seems to be gone. But I think we're not going to see necessarily just a Warren ball, and that's a sort of a reductive term that is a sort of a faint praise for Gatland. he has been a pragmatist over his whole career, starting from Ireland, how he's developed and evolved, and how he's relied on his assistant coaches as well. So I think Gregor Townsend is going to be influential on the way they play, because historically we've seen, whether it be Andy Farrell or Sean Edwards or Rob Howley, they've all had effects on the way Gatland would want to play. And I think, to slightly disagree with Matt, if we saw in the last Lions series where he moved Sexton into 10, sort of despite himself, it didn't seem as if he wanted to do it, and we ended up with Sexton, Farrell 10-12. That was really the changing of that series, and I think without that happening, the Lions don't draw that series. So I think what we have seen from Gatland is he's willing to learn from what he's done in the past, or the experiences he's had. And I'm interested, starting today, to see how this line sets up against Japan and how that then follows in for the rest of the tour. After a couple of games, we start seeing the combinations, we start seeing the style of play.
Yeah.
I think then we'll have a much better read on how this might play out.
Yeah, it's half the fun of these warm-up games, really.